Immigration reform, front and center in Washington. Welcome to Seib and Wessel. I'm David Wessel. We've come to the White House today to talk to Cecilia Muñoz. She's chairman of the President's Domestic Policy Council and the point person on immigration. I started out by asking her about how involved is the President going to be as Congress decides what, if anything, to do about immigration reform.
Well, the President actually did come forward with a large number of details.
Right.
What's exciting is that they are largely aligned with what the Senate has come up with. So hopefully that's a good indication that we should be able to get this done. He also made it clear that he reserves the right, if this process gets bogged down in the Senate, to introduce his own bill and ask the Senate to go ahead and vote on it. So I think he sees part of this.
Does he have some kind of deadline by the Senate have to act or not?
I mean, he's talking about the next 4 to 6 weeks.
I see.
And at the end of the day, we know what needs to be in an immigration bill. I mean, this has been litigated in the Senate a lot in the last 10 years. There was a bill that passed the Senate with 23 Republican votes in 2006. So the architecture is clear. There's agreement on the architecture. It's not hard to get to the bill language. So I think the President is going to insist that this process move expeditiously.
Well, as you mentioned, the Senate has been through this before, even as you point out, a bipartisan bill, but it didn't pass. What's different this year? Why should 2013 be better than 2006, 2007?
Well, the Senate bill did pass in 2006 with strong bipartisan support, and what's different about
it didn't
this
get through
year,
the House.
It didn't get through the House, but what's different about this year is, I think, multiple things. One, the country understands that the system is broken and it needs to be fixed, and that the only way to fix it is that only path passes through the Congress of the United States. There are a huge number of constituencies which are lined up in support of immigration reform, from faith leaders to business leaders to the high-tech sector to law enforcement, state and local government officials, faith leaders. I mean, this is a broad swath of the American public. And then, frankly, the Latino community also sent a pretty strong message in the election that I think, frankly, Republicans are responding to, and that's an important element as well. But at the end of the day, this is something that's good for the country, it's good for our economy. The President has placed this squarely in an economic framework. It's the right thing to do to move the country forward.
And has the President reached out to Marco Rubio or the other Republicans who are talking about this?
Well, the White House is in touch with all of the members of the Gang of Eight. We're in touch with members of Congress all the time. So those conversations are taking place. But the point is, we have to get to a bill. It's great that they're having discussions. It's great that they've got principles. Principles are not a bill that can be voted on. We have to get to that point.
Now, this week, Eric Cantor, the majority leader in the House, endorsed the DREAM Act, the law that would help children who were brought here illegally. A year ago, I think the administration would have been thrilled to see that go through Congress. If comprehensive reform doesn't make it, would doing something like the DREAM Act be seen as a victory here?
Well, the President strongly supports the DREAM Act and has really since he was in the Illinois State Senate, let alone his time in the U.S. Senate. DREAM Act is an incredibly important piece of legislation. It's something that we need to get done, but if you were to ask the Dreamers themselves, they would be the first to tell you we need a comprehensive bill. The DREAM Act by itself doesn't fix what's broken about our immigration system, and we need to do all of it: enforcement, a path to citizenship for the 11 million people, and fixing the legal immigration system if we're going to get this job done right, and that's what the country needs.
Now, you mentioned the 11 million people who are here illegally. Is it crucial that they have a path to citizenship, or would it be an okay compromise if they were somehow legalized but didn't have the path to citizenship?
The President's been really clear on this point. He believes it should be clear from the outset that this path leads to citizenship. It's not going to be an easy path, but it'll be a fair path, and it'll require a lot of people. It'll ask a lot of people. They'll have to go through a background check, pay a fine, pay a fee, learn English, pay their taxes. So it is a long road, but it should be a fair road, and it should end in citizenship.
Now, some things the President wants he probably won't get. That's the nature of life. The President has made one of his principles is that same-sex couples should be treated the same way. Is that worth having the whole thing go down?
This is a principle that the President has established. It was part of the principles that he introduced last week in Las Vegas. I would expect that there will be a vigorous debate about that in the Senate, and we'll see how it turns out. But the President's views on this matter are very, very clear, that we should be treating families as families under our immigration law.
And why then does the President not insisting that the benefits of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, be provided to illegal immigrants? I mean, they get sick just the way anybody else does.
Well, so the people who are in the legalization process, like the legalization that happened in the 1980s, are not going to be eligible for welfare or other federal benefits. They won't be eligible for subsidies or tax credits under the Affordable Care Act. They can get health care by buying it in the health care marketplaces that are going to be getting set up. But legalization has never been about benefits. It's always been about people getting on the right side of the law and working and participating and paying taxes.
So you don't see any wiggle room in that one?
Well, the president made it clear in his principles that that's how he would expect the process to lay out. That's consistent with, with precedents on this issue, and it's the right way to go about it.
What do you think the biggest obstacles are to getting this actually done this year?
The biggest obstacles are not policy. I think we know what the policy needs to be. I think really by and large there's a consensus on what the big pieces are of immigration reform. Frankly, I think the biggest obstacle is political will and just making sure we get it over the finish line. And the president's going to insist that we get this done because it's really in our economic best interest. This is really about job creation and entrepreneurship and innovation and making sure that we have the flexibility in our immigration system to provide for our economic needs and our labor force needs.
Well, I mean, that sounds compelling, but let's face it, you and I were both born here in the United States. Your parents came from Bolivia. My mother came from Nazi Germany. We're like lots of other people in America. Why has this been so politically contentious, so difficult to get through?
We're a nation of immigrants and a nation of laws, and it has been replete throughout our history that we've had tensions over these issues. The immigration debate is never easy in this country, but what's amazing about this country is that we get through it, and your family's history, my family's history, and the history of every other American is what makes us who we are. It's what's made us who we are as a country, and that's going to continue to be true. This debate gets emotional, in part because it relates to our stories as Americans, but what it's always been about and what it will be about is hard work, opportunity, and participation. That we're the place where you can come from escaping Nazi Germany, you can come from a place like Bolivia, but at the end of the day you become the same thing. That's an extraordinary thing. It's what makes us Americans, it's what makes us unique. That is the principle that we're seeking to advance in this immigration debate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.